Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I'm your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode.
Hi, everybody. I know we're recorded this time and not live. Crazy. But remember at the beginning of the year, I said we're going to have some extra special kind of interviews and stuff going on throughout the year. Those ones will be recorded. So that would be this one. So hopefully, I'm having a good morning. I don't know when this is being posted yet. I haven't decided. That's what makes it extra special. So have an awesome whatever time of day it is that you're at. All right. So with us today, we have Julia Denay. Hello.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Where are you visiting us from?
I'm in New York City.
Nice. Actually, we were just talking. So I was in Dominican last week, although by the time this airs, it might not be last week. But we were planning our next vacation, and part of that was maybe going to New York.
Oh, fun. Yeah, definitely come.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I have to see a show on Broadway. That's just one of those things I need to do in my life.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
So, and he wants to go to the baseball. Like, he wants to actually go to all the baseball fields. So that would,
that's an impressive journey.
Check another one off. We have not been to that many yet, but that would just check another one off.
There you go. Slowly but surely get through them.
Right? So if I get to do my thing, he gets to do it. It's a win-win and it works.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
So tell us a little bit about who Julia is.
Yeah, so I majored in fashion design. I always loved doing something creative, but I was definitely always a nerd. So I struggled with what I was going to do with that. But I ended up going to Cornell for fashion, so got to kind of marry the two. And kind of within that knew that I wanted to do something that was more than just, I don't know, adding textile waste or doing runway shows, but had no clue what that meant because I was 18. So I started just joining other clubs and other volunteer efforts, trying to figure it out, and ended up volunteering at an autism preschool and building a lot of great relationships over there. And they're actually the ones who brought up to me like sensory issues with clothing. And I really just fell in love with the friends I made there and their kids, and really just started through this whole journey of like creating fashion with purpose is I guess the best way to say it, but fashion that like helps people. And that really has become just a big part of who I am now for the past, I don't even know, too many years, 9 years. So
then you must be doing well because it's been a lot of years.
Yeah, it was definitely just something fun in college. It was something that I felt like really fit me, and I found really my purpose then was like working with these families and just being able to design and sew clothes that served like a greater need other than just being fun clothes. And that eventually led to working in special education and then ultimately starting a brand, which is where I'm at now. I'm a solo entrepreneur and just trying to make it work here in New York.
Awesome. And I mean, that's the best place to do it too. But that's what you do. So who are you?
That's such a good question.
I know, it's tricky.
It is hard. I think, especially as an entrepreneur, I do kind of mix the two. It's like that is become
for sure. It is definitely part of your identity.
Yeah, but I think it's good to think about who I am outside of that. So it's a good challenge. I am a dog mom.
Yes, what kind of dog?
He's a rescue, but he, at least if the DNA test is accurate, is a pit bull Russell Terrier mix with super mutt in there.
Oh, I did a test on my dogs too.
Yeah. My sister actually also had a rescue, so we like gave him to each other for Christmas. So essentially, we bought him for ourselves, but we got to like swap the results, which was fun.
Oh, that is adorable! What's the puppy's name?
Brody.
Oh, I have a cousin named Brody.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Anyways, I get distracted by animals, so you're a dog mom.
The best dog mom. Yes, and we love going on hikes, and I love being outside, and that's kind of my reset. So I love the city. I'm definitely a city girl, but I love vacationing to like nowhere. And my sister lives in Maine, so it's perfect. I like go up there and just go to like camping and like no service and just.
And
like,
I'm sure Brody enjoys that.
Oh yeah, he loves it. That's probably his best best vacations we take.
He's always like, "Let's go see my aunt. I need to go see my aunt."
Yes, he's like, "Mom, are you done with the city yet? Do you need a break? Because I do."
Yeah. Oh, that's adorable. Yeah. See, that's who you are.
Yeah. That's a better way to answer it.
That's all right. So let's talk about how what your experience is when you, because it's kind of a different interview than normal. Normally the person that comes on is the one that is experiencing it. But I was like, I really like your brand. I want to talk about this. So how did you get into volunteering at the, was it preschool you said?
Yeah, it was a preschool / like resource center. They kind of did a lot, but they had a preschool element. Yeah, it was actually through my sorority. So I took over as our VP of philanthropy, and I was always very into volunteering. Like I loved doing community service. And I feel like in Greek life, what was so common was just you kind of were raising money for your like national organization, but you weren't actually doing anything that had an impact. So you were like hosting a barbecue for other people in Greek life to come, and you donated that money, which not that it's bad, but you weren't really doing anything. And I definitely came from more of the background of like, I want to be out there, like doing true community service, which is kind of how I took over to find us a partnership that would still appease nationals and still kind of related, but we could actually be doing something actually impactful in the community. And that's kind of how I started forging that partnership.
Oh, I like that. And so when you got there, like, did you know that this preschool had like the resource or like the autism kids in it or whatever?
Yeah, so that was a big part of why we were partnering with them. Was their preschool was actually pretty much solely focused. I think there were some neurotypical kids in it, but it was really focused around kids that needed services. And they had a lot of different occupational PT, speech therapists in the school. And they had a big resource center for families in the community who even didn't go to their school. And then in general, like a room, they called it a sensory library. And you could go and like rent out a weighted vest or like a beanbag chair or something to take home to see if it worked with your kid before making those financial investments. So they really did a lot for the community outside of their preschool, but the preschool was definitely like autism focused, I'd say.
Okay. So did you know anything about autism when you first went there?
Honestly, no. I mean, in the general sense, a little bit. And like, there were people in my grade who I knew were autistic growing up, but you don't really know. And I felt like back then it was still so separated. Like you sort of saw them in some classes or at lunch and you knew, but I didn't really know anything compared to what I know now. And then after that partnership, like I feel like that was a huge educational experience for me.
Yeah. So what was the first kind of like, a moment when you were like, I wasn't expecting that or whatever? Like, what's one of those moments?
That's such a good question. Yeah, I think it was probably the first time. I think I was just touring. I don't think we were doing anything yet. I think I was talking to the director, like planning out the partnerships. And one of the kids eloped from, I think it was a therapy room or one of the schools, and one of the staff members was like chasing after them, and I was like, oh wow. And you really learned that like no sense of danger, like they're just taken off. And then that became such a big part of my daily life when I worked in special ed. But now that you say that, I'm like, I think that was a moment where I was like, oh wow, like I wouldn't have expected kids to just take off and try to leave the building.
Right, exactly. Because it's easy to like read it in a book or whatever. Okay, there's elopement. Yeah, whatever. No sense of danger. Okay, whatever. But when you like see it and experience, like, oh, like for real, you just go.
Yeah, you just go. Yeah, like especially when I was teaching, like if their car's coming, doesn't matter. Like there's no sense of it. And you're like, oh, there's really no sense of danger. Not like, oh, I got myself in a bad situation, I regret. Like no sense of danger.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good example because I remember that as like, so my youngest has autism. And I remember the doctor asking, is there like a sense of danger or whatever? And I'm like, no, not really. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, not at all. Like I've had to like grab her hand and be like, what are you doing? Don't go on the street. Like, cause that's probably the biggest one is the cars. Right.
Yes. Because it is scary too. Like I think that it sticks out in your mind because it is that scary moment for you as an adult, like with the sense of danger. You like see how that can be.
Yeah. But that definitely actually think about it was, one of the moments when the doctor was talking, I'm like, yes, like she'll just go out on the street. Like no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so as you kind of got started working in there and everything, what other things did you learn that really somebody should maybe think about or learn about for getting better understanding?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I quickly, and I've been kind of aware of this, but I saw a lot when I would bring other girls from our house to do different volunteer things, whether it was reading sensory stories or bringing Valentines, was kind of for especially younger kids and nonverbal kids in general, just like that communication difference. I think I really saw a lot of shock in others when that was like their first experience. If it was a lot more tactile and they got really close to their face, so they were grabbing it, and no one reacted in like a bad way, but they were really shocked. They were just like, oh, I didn't expect them to be that comfortable. And it was almost like not that, it was just like they couldn't read the story or like say something to you or say thank you. So it's like they come up and we're a lot more physical in that way. And I think that was something that you're just not aware of until you experience it and you kind of hang out with a lot of nonverbal kids. And obviously everyone's different, but I feel like that was like a common thing you saw. And just like almost less of a sense of like personal boundaries. Not that toddlers have a great sense of that anyway, but just a little bit of that I think is different and takes people off guard because it's not what they expect.
Exactly. And even if you were like, because I remember this with my kids and even her friends that fell on the spectrum, where it's like, okay, this is my bubble, this is your bubble. No,
right.
It takes a lot more than just saying, can you not be in my bubble, to explain it. And it's a skill that actually has to be learned. Whereas I think a lot of people, they take it for granted, being like, no, this is my bubble. Or of course you have the complete opposite. Like my kid does not want to be touched. If she goes up to you and touches you, that's one thing.
Yes.
But don't touch.
Yeah, it is kind of a funny mix of like, they let them come to you and they will touch you and be in your bubble, but don't enter their bubble.
Yes, exactly. And that concept of why the reverse is going on. Like, why can't I just enter your bubble? But no, don't. Like the idea of you also have a bubble, like that's just not really there.
No.
Yeah, that's a really good example actually, because it is hard to understand when they're coming up to you why you can't go up to them, and it's like, well, just the way the brain is working. That's
it's hard to figure out kind of the dynamic in your place when you enter into, especially a new classroom and new kids you don't know, and you're like, okay, who wants me to come near? Who doesn't? Oh, they're coming up to me. I'll go up to them later. Oh no, I can't do that. Like you're trying to almost navigate it without, a sense of like what you should be doing entering in.
Yes, exactly. So then you said that you got into actual special education, like you decided that's where you wanted to go. What was there, like a specific moment where you're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do, or just a combination?
It was honestly the pandemic. So I graduated in 2020, like May 2020. So deep chaos of like, what is this? Will it go away this summer? So the fashion industry was really shut down and there weren't jobs. And so I was thinking about grad school and I was like, really, like, why? Like, what would I be doing other than waiting out the pandemic? Yeah. And I knew I loved, working at the school I volunteered at and working on kind of adaptive fashion and being in kind of that world. And so I just kind of saw it as a great opportunity to work on the other side of it and be working in the schools and with kids and with therapists. And it was something that during the pandemic was really needed because a lot of those services were still in person, but a lot of people didn't want to be doing it because those kids weren't wearing masks or weren't adhering to any sort of social distancing, as we talked about. So it was hard for people to find employees that could fill those roles. And I just knew that I also loved working with the kids and I could easily fill that role. So just kind of happened. I don't know, without COVID, I doubt it would have. So it was kind of a happy outcome of COVID.
Good. That's so good then. I know there's lots of bad that came from the pandemic, but I also think that there was a lot of good that came out of it too. You just sometimes have to dig a little deeper to find it at times.
Yes. You got to really think back, really see what it changed, but there's definitely some.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, what do you do in special education?
Yeah, I was a special education para, so assistant. It's called different things in different states, but kind of one of the helpers in the classroom to the teachers and worked one-on-one with students. I was always in autism, like sub-separate classrooms in one whole school at one point, but I really worked one-on-one with the kids doing different lessons and different teachings and really got to personally work with them, which I loved. I did one day, I think I got moved out to Gen Ed where you have all the kids and I was like, take me back to the one-on-one, please. Like I love the special ed side. So that was really fun.
Oh, that's amazing. So I just want to know, like, over the years, what has been kind of maybe a couple of your top moments being in special education?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many. It's like trying to pick. But I
I
honestly
know.
miss it. I loved last year and I miss all my kids so much that all the highlights definitely have to do with my kids that I like really bonded with and had for years. But I think some were just like the breakthrough. Like I remember this one kid I worked with a lot because he really couldn't be alone in our classroom without eloping, as we
Okay.
talked about,
Yes.
or occasionally hurting the other kids, just kind of by accident, not like on purpose, but just needed someone with him. So I worked with him a lot. And one of his biggest frustrations with communication was that we didn't understand what he meant of like what he wanted. So you were trying to guess and like pull things off the shelf and it would really escalate him and it was really hard to figure out. And so one day I decided we were just going to learn yes and no. So like you don't have to be upset. You could just say like, is this what you want? You could say no. And we worked through it and within one day, maximum two, like he really got it. And it was such a cool moment where it clicked and you would pull something and be like, is this what you want? And he was like, no. And I was like, great. And put it away. And he was like, yes. And then if I got what he wanted, he was like, yes. And I was like, okay, yes, we're getting somewhere. And it was
Oh, I love
really cool because it
that.
happened so quick. And he was so smart. And so I wasn't surprised that he picked it up quickly, but it was such a hard concept of like communication for him that it was so cool to see it click. And he was like, wow, I can tell them what I want and what I don't want now. And honestly, I love it. It stands out because it then is so impactful. Like that impacts so much in communication that you can do with yes and no. So that was awesome.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah, I was teaching a kickboxing class for kids with autism, and of course, everybody, like you said, has different communication. And so the one little boy, I would listen to how mom and dad would talk to him. Do you want this or this? It was two choices only, not a whole lot of words, very almost like yes or no.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, I can use that, sure. So I'd be like, do you want bear crawl or crab walk? And then he would be able to pick one, right? Whereas if I was like, how do you want to warm up today? He'd be like, choices, right. I don't know, right?
It's too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. And even now I like, so I also have autism. And I'll be at the grocery store and my husband is oh, bless his heart. So I'll be looking at so one day specifically, I was looking at pasta and I was trying to decide what kind of noodles I wanted because there's just so many kinds. And it's not like I don't, it's not like I don't make it on a regular basis, but at that moment I was trying to make a certain recipe and I'm like, what kind of noodles do I want with this recipe? And I'm looking and I'm like picking them up and reading this and reading that, like they're different, but they're really not. They're all but to me, it was just so overwhelmed. There was just so many choices. And my husband's like, let's just get all three of these that you're looking at. I'm like, but I only need one. He goes, it's fine. We'll just get all of them. It's fine. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Because like we will use them later too. But like in that moment, I needed one bag of pasta. Which noodles was so overwhelming to decide that he's just like, we'll just get all of them.
Yeah.
And this is why we're married.
Yeah, I was like, what a great partner.
Yeah, he gets me usually. So I'm guessing that from all of your work with all these different kids and everything is how you kind of came up with some of these ideas for your fashion line.
Yeah, no, 100%. They were honestly exclusive, especially the stuff we launched with were direct from my students. One of my students, for instance, like hated noise. Like that was a huge sensory trigger for him, but he also hated headphones. So we put them on and they'd last like a minute. He'd be like, oh, that's nice. And then within 5 minutes, definitely less usually, they'd get thrown across the classroom. And we were like, wait, I thought you liked these and you liked noise, but then he'd be upset by the noise. And it was a tough back and forth of like, okay, how can we help you? And so I ended up sitting behind him and I would just hold my hands over his ears so that he could at least participate in.
Totally done that with my kid at like concerts and stuff because everybody's clapping and she's just like, it's too much. So then I cover her ears.
Yeah, so that they can clap. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, you need to have your hands, so I'll cover your ears. And that's really the original inspiration behind our sound reducing hoodie was, okay, what's an alternative if my hands are not free? Like, how can we help provide something for you to do independently? And honestly, the same with our compression line t-shirt. At my school, there was one compression vest we had for 3 autism classrooms that were all around the same age that were all together in this hallway. But the issue was when you recognize when your students really needed it, you had no clue where it was if it wasn't in your classroom, and you're trying to like hunt it down. And then by the time you find it, it's like the child has escalated, has become even more dysregulated, and you're like wrestling them into this compression vest that was really hard. So our compression line t-shirt, I was like, okay, if we can just lift up the top layer, quickly tighten the sides, and carry on, we could avoid the whole chaos of running around, trying to find something, them escalating.
Genius. Are you ever going to make it for bigger sizes?
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. So slowly, like as I can, adding adult sizes into everything. So we added adult sizes for our sound reducing hoodie. And right now our joggers are also on pre-order for adult sizes. And those are getting finished up at the factory. And so hopefully the next thing we can do is add the compression shirts. So slowly adding the sizes as it can.
Yeah. I know this adult reducing hoodie. I'm like, I kind of want one, but I think my kid would really love this. She's 8. I keep saying kid because she's my kid, but she's 18. She's a big size.
Sophie, you're a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. But she will always be my kid.
I use them all the time for plane travel too, because of the eye mask that pulls down for the full.
Right. Like, that's what I was looking at. I always take my hair, like put it over my eye.
You're like,
but that would be so much easier. Just done.
Yeah, it's so convenient. It's like, why carry around a separate eye mask you have to put on? We can just pull it down when you need it.
Yeah, there's so many very cool things. And I love scrunchies. Look at this.
Yes. So this was actually from another company that I found, another founder, and it's a scrunchie with like that's squishy, so it becomes a fidget. And this also grew from teaching, because I always wore silk or velvet scrunchies on my wrist to put my hair through the day. And kids at circle time would always be playing with them or take it off my wrist and play with it, and it would stretch them out. And I was like, in the moment, I was like, whatever, like, whatever's working for you to sit at circle, like, please take my hair scrunchie. But I think there's gotta be a scrunchie that you can play with that won't break or then I can't use. And I found these and I was like, okay, wait, this is actually exactly what they're already using my scrunchies for, but this is better because it's meant to be a fidget.
Yeah, that was so cool. I love that. There's some really cool stuff, but yeah, I'm loving that hoodie. Lost my train of thought. It happens a lot.
Oh my gosh, you're so good. I do that all the time.
Right? I just admit, I'm just like, yeah, guys, I don't know where I was going with that. But no, those are some really cool different things. And I've seen like compression vests before, but I like you said, where it's already just there and you can just make it close. So, because sometimes taking something on and off is a pain in the butt, even if you don't have a whole bunch of other stuff going on, right? Like it's just a pain. Or it's like, where did I put it? But if it's just there, it's like, okay,
I need to carry it around. Is it in the car? Did I bring it? Did I leave it at home? Is it? It just becomes hard.
Yeah, way too much extra noise to worry about in that case. So I like that. That's so cool. So sorry, when did you launch your brand again?
Oh yeah, so we launched April of 2022. So yeah, it was fun. And I taught for like a year and a half after launch. So it almost feels like after that, it's been almost a true relaunch in a certain way of like really now having the time. It was so hard with teaching. It's like, I'd be so all in all day with the kids. You're barely answering emails. So it was kind of hard to start a business at the same time, but it was up and running. And if people found us on socials, we were selling, but definitely feels totally different having left teaching. And I was like, okay, if I actually want to make this work, I probably should, have some business hours that I could work on it.
That's awesome. What other ideas do you have in the works?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things, especially for my kids, and I hear a lot, is socks and getting rid of.
That's what I was about to suggest if you hadn't.
Yes, it's been so hard. It's been like on my mind the whole time. It's like finding the right factory, and like not everyone gets it. You say like, oh, can you do totally seamless? Like, this is my idea. And they're like, oh, totally, we do an invisible seam. And then they send you a picture. I'm like, that's still a seam. Like, sorry guys. So slowly figuring it out, but I think I'm slowly finding a new manufacturer that might be able to do it. So we'll see, fingers crossed. But that's definitely on the docket as soon as I can figure it out. And I think there's just like a few other things that I definitely want to do when I can, like chewing, I know is a big one, like chewing on clothes, or kids who just like don't like the chewies or lose them or they get dirty. So trying to find some on the shirt, kind of good way to
like a little string or something.
Yeah, so that's definitely in the works, is figuring out chewing and just kind of adding in those other sensory needs like that, like adding in different fidgets. Like right now, our sensory joggers have a magnetic closure on the side pocket that's a
Very
little
cool.
built-in fidget, but
Yeah.
finding other things to add in. And I definitely, coming from my like design background and my creativity being kind of my reset and like downtime, I definitely have a bunch of designs, just haven't been able to
Sure.
actually execute and develop them yet with the business. But there's definitely things that I would love to do as the designer and just start making. But we'll see.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, like I found those it's not clothes, accessories though. Those fidget rings, the ones that you can spin.
Yes.
I love
I
those.
love Yes.
They are amazing. And I always play and fidget with my necklace all the time. And I'm
Yes,
just
I
like,
say I
right?
always wear jewelry, or like even if it's not a fidget ring, an actual ring that you can just, it's like
Mhm.
kind of big and you can just kind of like fidget
Right,
with
play
on
with
your
it.
finger. Yeah. I almost
Right?
have to like purposely not wear jewelry on my hands if I'm going to go like do a presentation or something, because I've noticed like the videos I'm just doing this the whole presentation. I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I need to
Or embrace it as part of your thing.
the whole thing. Yeah, true.
Right? Just embrace it. Notice how I'm doing this? Well, a lot of kids need that. And that's why blah blah blah.
Honestly, yeah, that's a good spin.
Right? You just spin it so it works for you, because trying to get rid of it, that's way too much.
It's so hard. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. So where do you like, is the best way on your website there to order clothes and things?
Yeah, everyone can order right from our website, which is sensoryclothes.com. Also gets you there for people just listening, but otherwise it's shop sensationalyou.com. And we're on all social media. I do everything also. So if you message us on our website or message the social media, like it's always me answering. So feel free to reach out and share your story or share feedback. But yeah, I'm everywhere and happy to chat with everyone.
Amazing. And where do they find you? Like, what social media are you on?
Oh yeah, it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're pretty across the board.
All of them.
Yeah, all the things. And it's sensational_you.
Amazing. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Do you have any last words for, say, parents who are maybe struggling because they're just fighting with their kids to get dressed or keep the clothes on?
Yes, I feel like that is a huge struggle. I think it was even a struggle for me as a teacher, kids just trying to come into school and take off their clothes. So really having to work through that. I think the biggest thing, especially at school, what was really effective was kind of just being consistent about it and being like, nope, at school we have to keep clothes on. And when they took them off, like putting them back on. But baseline before being able to deal with that and kind of setting that expectation was making sure it wasn't a sensory thing. So if they were usually kept their clothes on and they were really taking them off, realizing that might be the fabric or it might be the tag cutting into them. So really trying to find those sensory causes first, and then otherwise just really trying to stay on schedule with like, nope, you actually have to keep your shirt on at school, and just putting it back on when they took it off until they really got it. Even a visual schedule really helps. Actually, on our website, if you scroll down, if you can't find it, as I said, message me. But I created a visual schedule that I used with some of my students that I put up as like a free resource you can download on our website, which is also great for teaching kids to independently dress themselves, which I found actually can help them be a part of the process and keep the clothes on, because they don't feel like you're like shoving the shirt on over their head and they're out of control. It's like, if you can teach them to do it themselves, they kind of have control over that situation. That can help reduce kind of that overstimulation or hatred of the experience. So the visual schedule will help with that, and just them know like what steps are coming, which hopefully decreases that anxiety and overwhelm that can come if they know the clothes make them feel overstimulated. Almost the anticipation of it can be even worse because they know it's coming and they know the feeling's coming. So being able to break that down by steps, know what's coming, know what's going to happen, can really help. So hopefully that visual schedule can help, but also you can easily make your own, take pictures of the clothes. If they have a school uniform, you can make the pictures directly with the exact clothes they have to put on.
Right, which is always good too, to make it very, specific so they know.
Yes, so they know. And yeah, if they don't have a uniform, I think giving choices is great, because if you don't know their sensory preferences, or you think it might be sensory, you're not sure, letting them pick out their shirt, even if we said like hold up two, like which one do you want to wear, so they can touch and feel and pick, even if a broad question is too hard, like go grab something from your drawer might feel overwhelming.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah, grab two that they usually like and then see which one they're in the mood for that day. And that again kind of gives them that control over that experience with their clothes, which hopefully will help. But yeah, those are the main things I would do with my kids that hopefully will help some listeners.
Oh, amazing. Actually, when you were sharing that and you were talking about the sensory needs, my kid with pants, oh my gosh. She doesn't like the feel of fabric on the back of her knee.
Oh, I see that. I guess when you bend your knee, like it bunches back there. Yeah, I can see that.
So pajama pants I have found have been the most effective because they are the loosest, so they don't really touch and soft. But it's like, I would never, like, in a million years, I never would have thought that would be a thing. Like, I live in Canada. It's winter. I mean, New York, it's cold there. It's winter. Wear pants. And it's like, she would rather wear a dress every day just to not have stuff on her legs. And I'm like, but it's cold.
But it's cold. Yeah. I think that's so cool. I know, I love hearing other people's sensory things. I think it's so personal and there's so many different stories. And it's always interesting because I feel like you hear both. Like, I met someone in Florida who said they will only wear long sleeves and pants. And they're like, we live in Florida. Like, it's hot. So it's almost like the exact opposite. You know, it's like you got to dress for the weather sometimes, guys.
Right. But it's so crazy because, everybody's sensory stuff is so varied, but it's good. It's good research for you to hear all of these.
I love it. Yeah, that's why I was like, please email me your stories, the little things, because it's always great to know.
Right, and then just kind of pick out a common thread through them.
Yeah, I think that's what's so hard was like picking what to launch with. Was like everyone is so different. Like, I love this fabric, I hate this fabric, or I like pullover, I hate pullover. I love zippers, I hate zippers, and you're like, okay, which way are we going first? Like, I'd love to have all the options, but where do you start?
Right, exactly. You can't have everything all at once. You have to figure out, the gist, and then as you go, maybe you can get more specific things that isn't as common. But you're still a baby of a company, so
yeah, exactly. But that's why I love stories like that, because like I wouldn't have thought the problem was the fabric on the back of the knees until someone shares that. Yeah.
Well, and when she was little, she would only wear, so again, dresses, but because she was little, I'm like, no, you have to wear some kind of pants. So she'd wear tights, not like the tights that we used to have when we were little, because you look about my age where like, they were itchy and scratchy, but like the nowadays tights where they're soft and nice. And she would come home with holes cut in her knees because she didn't want it touching them.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And I get notes from the teacher. So sorry, we couldn't catch her before she did that. Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, as a teacher, you look over, you're like, oh no, like I did not stop you from cutting holes.
Right. And I'm just like, I get it. Whatever. Now she can wear them and be happy.
As long as she's happy.
Right, but those are the things that you wouldn't. I never ever would have thought of that before I had her. I'm just like, you just pick a different pair then. Pick one that is not uncomfortable. Like, I hate jeans. Right. The feeling of jeans. Oh no.
Yes, I feel like for a lot of people, I'm more like, I'll wear jeans, but I hate wet jeans. Like if you walk in the rain and they get like really wet. And I saw that with a lot of students, like come in wearing jeans, and I was always like, first of all, like we don't need to put toddlers in jeans who already have sensory issues, but like, okay. So it was already a struggle, but the second, like, I remember this one kid like dumped water by accident at lunch, like a cup of water on his pants, and was just like frozen in fear and like essentially pain, like sensory discomfort, pain. And I was like, oh no, I was like, we're gonna find new pants. Like we were just like, how quickly can we get you out of these wet jeans? I felt so badly.
Yeah, exactly. But there are things that you don't think about until the moment they happen, and you see it, and it's like, oh, okay. So
like,
there's just such a big difference. Everybody's so different. I love it. So everybody email Julia your sensory stories so that she can get more ideas.
Yes, exactly. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Yeah,
thanks for having me. This is so fun to think back on my teaching journey and remember all my students and favorite moments.
Right? So many things. All the things.
All the things.
As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye!